Visitor in a One-Horse Town by Paul McCann. In rode a stranger on a white stallion. The tumbleweeds rolled across the street, blown by a western wind that swept the dust in and out of this one-horse town. Nothing but the tumbleweeds moved. The rider pulled up outside the saloon and tied his horse reins to a post. Taking the saddle from the horse's back, he tossed it beside the saloon's door that opened and closed to the hush and rush of the wind. The stranger swung open the two louver doors and was followed into the saloon by a breeze. There wasn't a sound to be heard inside the saloon. In fact, there wasn't a soul to be seen. The wooden floor creaked under the stranger's shuffling feet. His long metal spurs clinked and rattled like the shackles of a tormented slave. Dust lay thick over the bar, and cobwebs hung to the roof and clung to the glasses that sat upon the shelf inside the bar. Empty whiskey bottles lay upon their side, relics of some forgotten aeon. The scurry of a tiny desert rodent broke the silence, followed by the slow creaking outside the saloon. The stranger pulled out a six-shooter from his gun belt and swiveled the chamber open, assured that it was fully loaded. He stepped outside the saloon into the street, where shadows of tumbleweeds rolled in the dusty street. Outside the barber's shop, an old sign hung by a single strand of rope. Suddenly the sign crashed and fell to the ground and shattered into small pieces. The creaking continued to haunt the stranger. He walked very slowly down the street that was as deserted as the wild western plain far out on the range. Outside the jailhouse, an old rocking chair slowly was creaking as it rocked back and forward. The stranger never flinched as a bullet grazed the side of his face. Yet another shot rung out. This time the bullet nicked his ear. Suddenly a horse came from nowhere and galloped up the street, minus its rider. The lonely wind whistled an eerie tune as it blew through the town. The lonely wind whistled an eerie tune as it blew through the town. The riderless horse pulled up and stood beside the stranger's white stallion. A voice rang out from inside of the jailhouse. "Ride on, stranger. This one-horse town isn't big enough for me and you, so settle up and move on out." The stranger tipped his hat down over his eyes and pulled out a tobacco pouch from his shirt pocket. He bit off a small piece of tobacco and started to chew it over, around and around in his mouth, before spitting it out in the dusty street. "Well, now, I kind of like this one-horse town. As a matter of fact, I was thinking of making it my home," said the stranger. The front door of the jailhouse swung open like a tornado had thrown it out onto the street. "Maybe you just hard of hearing," said the unshaven, skinny figure that stood before the stranger. The two mean-looking men stood staring at each other with empty eyes. "Maybe I am. I never caught your name," said the stranger with his right hand on his six-shooter safely tucked into its holster. "That's 'cause I never give it, you mortal midget of a mouse. I'm the ghost of this here one-horse town. There's not a man alive that has the power to gun me down. So ride on, stranger. Ride on while you still can." The stranger smiled and walked up to the ghost and looked into his black eyes and said, "I'm just getting used to this place, and I think I'll stick around. Maybe you better move on out and ride away before I whip you good." "Whip me, you say? Well, that'll be the day. That'll be the day that you die, I say," said the ghost. And he continued, I'm the meanest son of all the bitches. I burnt the britches of ghouls and witches. My gun is the law. I'm quick on the draw. I'll be the fastest gun you ever saw. So get out of town, man, or I'll shoot you down. I run this show here in this one-horse town. The stranger never batted an eyelid and laughed aloud. What do you think? Riding the range is a hot, dirty, stinking way of a life for a cool hustler on the run. I'm just a ghost rustler with a doggone cotton flicking, picking, hooting, tooting, shooting, gunslinger from the hip shooting, dead ringer for a dead duck. I'll shoot you down. The stranger drew as fast as lightning and fired 6 shots that hit home, bringing the ghost to the dust in a heap on the street. And the stranger laughed and said, I'm the only ghost in this here one-horse town. The end.